You've had sloppy joe and you've had cheesy pasta. How about we combine both of them and bring back a little nostalgia and create a delicious sloppy joe cheesy pasta bake? Let's get it. First thing we want to do to our pan is introduce our beef chuck. Great thing about this recipe, if you want to use ground turkey, you could definitely use ground turkey. And if you want to use some ground chicken, yeah, you got my permission. You could definitely rock out with some ground chicken as well. This is beef chuck, so it's not necessary to add any oil because once the meat starts to render, we're gonna have a sufficient amount of oil. We're gonna cook the meat until it's brown. If there's any residual excess oil in the pan, feel free to drain it off. So our sizzling pan, we are gonna introduce our onions. These are diced yellow onions. However, if you wanna use, let's say maybe shallots, you could definitely use that as well. We're gonna combine our onions with our ground beef, of course. We're gonna cook our onions down until they become translucent. That should take about a minute or two, depending on the heat level that you're cooking on, whether it be high heat or medium heat. Stir it on in. Let's introduce some garlic for some extra flavor. We're gonna cook our garlic until it becomes fragrant and toasted. Let it hang out in the middle of the pan for a second. And we're gonna combine both the garlic and the ground beef. Keep cooking that garlic until it becomes fragrant. Add our bell peppers. Add any bell peppers. As you can see, I'm using red bell peppers. Once again, use what you have. Cook these bell peppers down until they're slightly softened. This smells so good, and we haven't even begun to season yet. All right, let's jazz our ground meat up some more. We're gonna add a couple tablespoons of tomato paste. Get it in there. That's gonna give it a nice hearty flavor and color, of course. We're also gonna add some tomato sauce. Get the sauce into the mix. Add a little bit of water. Get everything out of this pan. We're gonna add some mustard. This, of course, is yellow mustard. Give it a good stir. We want to make sure everything is perfectly incorporated. Let's continue to step our flavors up. We're going to add some Worcestershire sauce, of course. This is definitely going to bring out a flavor of element. Let's add some salt and ground black pepper. A couple pinches is fine. And I'm going to go on with, this is not traditional, of course, but I want to season the meat in order for it to have a little bit more flavor. So we're going to add some of my all-purpose seasoning. Season to your liking, and we're also going to add some brown sugar. We're not adding the sugar to make our final product sweet. However, we are adding the sugar to balance out the acidity from the tomatoes and tomato sauce. We're going to continue cooking our sloppy joe for about another minute or so because I want all of the flavors to literally seep into one another, right? Give it a second. Be patient. I know it smells good. It looks amazing. And I can guarantee it tastes even better. But like I said, for now, allow those flavors to marry and become one in order for it to become really saucy and delicious. At this point in time, I want you to lower the flame, and we're going to continue to work on our pasta. We're cooking our pasta until it becomes al dente. If you want to use, let's say, maybe rotini, cavatappi, or whatever your favorite pasta is or whatever you have on hand, feel free to do so. For this particular recipe, we're going to be using spaghetti. And I added a little salt to the water, so therefore the pasta can have some extra flavor going into our sloppy joe mixture, of course. I also left a little bit of water. You know how they say add that pasta water? Well, when I drained the pasta, I left a little extra water inside of the pan, and that, I guess you could call that my reserve pasta water, so to speak. But as of now, we're incorporating both our pasta with our meat sauce, of course. Ooh, this looks really, really good. If you don't want to add the pasta, you could serve the sloppy joe on 2 toasted buns and eat that by itself. But if you want to stretch things out a little bit more, and if you want to take things to a different level, you can definitely incorporate the pasta, which I'm doing right now, as you see. And we can you can step things up by adding some creamy, delicious, sharp cheddar cheese. We're going to incorporate it in 2 seconds. Get a good amount in there because we want it to be nice, creamy, and cheesy. Mix it up really good. I was doing some research, and when I went to school, sloppy joes was definitely a thing, all right? That was something that was on the menu rotation. And now that my kids are going to school, I don't hear them talking anything about sloppy joes because guess what? They don't even serve that anymore. So I was like, okay, let me dig a little bit deeper. And I realized that they do serve it in some schools, but not as often. Now, what's even more crazy is the fact when I went to school, like all of my little classmates and stuff, they would go crazy over the sloppy joe. And I'm like, I don't know if I want to try that. I don't know. So it took me a while to give it a try. And after I tried it, because my family wasn't really making sloppy joes now that I think of it. They would make ground meat, but they would incorporate it into something different. Once I tasted sloppy joe, now I understand why my classmates was going crazy over sloppy joes whenever it was served up. Like, yeah, they took some of the good things away from school. Yes, they did. As you can see, everything is creamy and delicious. It's beautiful. I have some mozzarella cheese that I'm going to incorporate with my cheddar. Use your favorite cheese for this recipe. And I think there's a little monster cheese in here as well from the last recipe that we did. And the other thing is, as you can see, this pan right here is going into the oven. However, if you are not using a heavy duty oven safe pan, transfer it over into a pan as such, or even into a casserole dish. 375 degrees Fahrenheit for about 15 to 20 minutes until the cheese is perfectly melted. Sloppy joe pasta bake is finished. Oh my goodness, we have our pops of red bell peppers right there. Not to mention we went ahead and added a little parsley. Cheese is perfectly melted and I can guarantee you it tastes like a charm. Let's dig in and let's see what we have here. Wow, nice cheesy noodles. This is phenomenal. This is absolutely delicious. This definitely takes me back to the first grade. The pasta incorporation was definitely a great choice because you have that, you know, I'm a pasta lover and I know many of you are pasta lovers as well. Not to mention the incorporation of the perfectly seasoned sloppy joe. It's, oh my goodness, it's a win-win. Give this recipe a try. Add it to your weeknight rotation or even a weekend rotation. And I can guarantee you, not only is it going to bring back memories, but your kids are going to love this recipe as well. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Cooking with Tammy and I will definitely catch you in another video.